Hello, I'm the Angry Spork. Man, those predators. They just can't stop hunting Batman. Well, at least now, he's got his faithful sidekick to help him out. Though those 3 laser sights might blend into his suit, so maybe Tim should have called in sick. I'm taking issue with Batman vs. Predator 3, so let's begin with issue number 1 and see if this comic makes us want to turn the page or turn our heads. The cover sees Bats pinned down by one of the space hunters on a rooftop, wounded, and his opponent clearly needing a napkin.
Ah, good boy, little drooly.
Written by Chuck Dixon, with art by Rodolfo DiMaggio, Robert Campanella, and Pat Garrahy, we begin on the 10th consecutive day of 100-degree weather in Gotham, as several men gleefully open fire on a rival gang from their speeding car. All this while narration notes how the heat has most people inside with overworked AC units, leading to half the city experiencing brownouts, but it clearly hasn't curbed crime. Only 2 kinds of idiots on the streets tonight, the wolves and the sheep. The gazelles know better. They keep their heads down and watch Wheel of Fortune. However, the driver notices some strange dots on the windshield. Nice touch of having the lasers appear at a bent angle on his face. He's then taken out by a laser blast, and the truck soon crashes. The gunmen in the truck bed get up from their tumble, but 2 are quickly taken out, the 3rd getting a brief glimpse of the cloaked predator when he returns fire. He runs away in disbelief, but doesn't get very far before he's gutted by the brute. Yeah! Huh, turns out this predator is a fan of the Flaming Lips. Who knew? He's joined by another pred, who's already taken his trophy, as we cut to much later, revealing that our narrator is Harvey Bullock, complaining about the heat to his then-partner Renee Montoya. Yet he's still drinking coffee, which he blames on years of rotating shifts, making it a necessity. I need coffee like I need air and water. Maybe more than water. Coffee has water in it, you know. Pretty sure it still hydrates you all the same, too. But no one ever accused Harv of being no rocket scientist. They're approached by 2 other cops, Moses and Murphy, who are strangely jovial about the 4 dead gangbangers. While the murder weapon hasn't been identified, cause of death was all the same, the removal of their heads and spines. I'm not so sure that was the cause of death. Pretty sure it was the lasers and blades that did him in. But maybe they're just bad at their job, because they laugh while saying it's now a matter for the Major Crimes Unit, and leave as Bullock chastises them for never actually working a murder case. He and Montoya will check Arkham for any escapees with a fixation on heads and go from there. This is observed by the dynamic duo, with Batman only having a hunch he doesn't want to think about, and hopes that he's wrong. Please don't be snake clowns. The 2 preds have made a hideout in one of the towers of a suspension bridge. One shows off a 6-shooter, a trophy taken after killing several men in the Old West who were firing into a buffalo stampede. I'm guessing they didn't have any luck just lying in wait. The flashback ends with the pred taking the gun, the buffalo going off to maybe trample Mufasa, and in the present the storyteller hands the weapon to his companion, letting out some kind of rallying cry, perhaps. Robin barely seems to hear it as a roaring howl when the Batmobile drives across the bridge, but Bats figures it could be the engine and says he'll have Harold take a look when they arrive at the cave. Tim can tell his mentor is being cryptic about what or who he thinks took out those 4 men earlier, but Bruce is going to wait until they get home. Maybe it's just another quadruple homicide in Gotham. Like that one crime scene I took you to when you were just starting out. Remember? The victim's face was horribly mutilated and you barfed all over my cape. Good times. We go to Montoya and Bullock at the morgue, where, strangely, one corpse's butt is strategically covered by the art, but the neighboring one's isn't, and I'm censoring them both because as low as my viewership is right now, I'd rather not risk showing off anything too graphic and have it bite me in the headband later. Major multiple insults to the thoracic area of each of the victims. They all died of 3rd-degree sick burns.
Rounds over. You go.
Mort, yes, the mortician here is named Mort, just like Bob's Burgers. Anyway, he and coworker Flanagan conclude that not only were the victims dead before the tearing out of their spines and heads, but that 3 had cauterized wounds and the 4th was impaled from behind by a weapon with 4 serrated edges. Yeah, that looks an awful lot like it's in front of him, but hey, I'm no doctor. In the Batcave, while Harold works on the car and gives Alfred the stink eye for some reason, Tim has accessed the medical examiner's report, discovering what Renee and Harvey just found out, and is puzzled by how the blade inexplicably left no particles left behind. Given the timetable between the killings and the dismemberment, all under 5 minutes, Bruce and Alfred recognize the real possibility of having visitors once again, and Drake wants to know what they're talking about.
Look, Tim, you can learn to live with a little dramatic tension. I'll tell you about the dangerously skilled and deadly alien game hunters from beyond the moon right after not knowing nearly gets you killed.
Mr. Freeze and some goons are robbing Gotham Trust and Securities with an impregnable vault that can't be opened using explosives or fire, lest the whole building collapse. His goons set up a different weapon to break in, a cannon using subthermal dynamics that will reduce the steel door's temperature to absolute zero.
Not scientifically possible!
Maybe he's being dramatic, because real-life science has only gotten close to, but not at, absolute zero. In a previous review, I might have mischaracterized absolute zero as no heat energy anywhere, and I would have been wrong. It is, however, within the realm of thermodynamics, so I'm guessing the writer just made up subthermal dynamics as a bit of creative flair. But yeah, the door becomes so brittle that it shatters upon impact with what turns out to be a mallet, but it's hard to tell here. Looks more like a wrench. Anyway, the crooks can make off with the cash inside. Meanwhile, the lobby phone rings, Security Central calling for a checkup, done every half hour. The goon left behind to watch the guards pulls the tape off one of their mouths so he can tell them everything's fine. This is dandy news to the Freeze lackey, but the operator knows something's wrong, as the guard didn't use the code phrase.
My name is Shazam!
With their loot loaded into the truck and needing only to lie low for a while, Henchman Chili mentions how he handled the hitch with the security office, and we see there are armed officers waiting for the gang outside.
Chili, you idiot! This is what I get for posting a henchman wanted ad on Craigslist.
They bust out of the garage and Freeze uses his machine to coat the street in ice, deterring any police pursuit. When the Batmobile shows up, he expects the same result, but the Dark Knight's ride makes it thanks to all-wheel drive and road spikes. I guess adding a hover mode like Doc Brown's DeLorean was too flashy for him. Freeze then blasts a little higher, taking out their windshield and cameras, leaving the vigilantes to rely on radar. But because of the properties of frozen matter, they lose both front wheels and crash into a parked car on the curb, their quarry laughing in victory. The Batmobile lost 2 wheels and Mr. Freeze got away! Not as catchy for parody lyrics, I'll admit. Maybe Weird Al could make it work. Gotta wonder what note Bats is gonna leave under that driver's wiper. Though maybe there'll be another accident since the getaway driver is too busy hooting and hollering to watch the road. Sure, he wouldn't see those 2 invisible predators closing in on them, but still. The Batmobile is towed back to the cave by Harold, which definitely would have gone viral if more people had camera phones in 1997. And until he can determine if it's fixable, the Caped Crusaders will need to use the subway rocket until an older Batmobile gets taken out of mothballs. Bruce prioritizes the 4 murdered gang members, but wants Robin to focus on finding Freeze's hiding spot, likely somewhere refrigerated. Sure enough, the frigid foe is in an abandoned frozen food warehouse, with one of his goons complaining about counting their loot in a freezer.
Perhaps you could all go outside and count the money in a nice, warm room. I will simply sit here, and you can bring me my fair share.
Can we?
When Harold gets a hockey franchise.
Okay, this comic gets extra points. That's a solid joke right there. They're interrupted when the predators crash the ceiling, cloaked, but the steam giving them away enough that one of the goons manages to hit one with the hammer he used on the safe door. But he gets stabbed for his efforts. The other henchmen fall in short order, and the issue ends with the predators advancing on Victor Freeze.
You wouldn't eviscerate a guy with goggles now, would you? I really hoped I wouldn't have to say that a second time in my life, but here we are.
This was a good first issue, showing us the new threat in town with the usual Gotham chaos going on. I do find it curious why Batman hasn't told Tim about the predators yet. He should know corpses with missing spines can't be a coincidence. Even if he thinks it's an earthbound copycat, it doesn't make sense not to tell his sidekick about it. It can't be part of his training because he already knows something's up and is getting irritated on not being told what. Bruce has faced these suckers twice before, so he knows how dangerous they are. And he's all about being prepared, so that just raises further questions. Tune in next week, and maybe he'll explain why he waited to tell Tim, and it'll totally make sense and justify his actions.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.